Welcome to Dysfictional, an RPG-focused podcast where I can't think of anything interesting to say like Random Randy does. But I am Tukey, former academic gone ranger.
I'm Ginger, professional film industry victim.
I'm that Random Randy who thinks of things. Hi, Tukey.
Hi. We got some topics for tonight, or maybe a topic for tonight. We started a new campaign.
What?
Yeah.
What? You guys did one without me?
Oh.
Yeah, it was just so much more, less stressful that way.
Wait, you didn't tell him? Ooh, this is awkward. You find another DM and don't tell your previous.
I take off the mask and haha, I was the DM the whole time.
Oh, no. Well, Mr. DM, why don't you tell us a little bit of backstory for this campaign?
It has a group of 5 people saving the world. That's it. No. Okay, so.
Wait, you promised it wasn't. Wait, you promised me that this time it wasn't going to be on only us to save the world.
I lied.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. To start things off, they were given instructions that something was going on. They don't know what. No one really knows what. And they all are going to end up at this castle. There's going to be refugees there from other parts of the continent, and they're all kind of in a big muffled mess right now. It seems like there's been demonic attacks. There's been fiends, mostly demon related and stuff. That was the one thing they knew of. But unlike the previous campaign, which was devil based, and the party knew, like they were hunting them, like that was their big thing. This one, everyone's in like a almost free for all. We've never really fought these things. So right now we've only done the first basically intro part where everyone got to introduce themselves, and it was a huge riot. It was great. And they pretty much ended with a little bit of the chaos of what's going on right now. So there's, let's say 7 nations or something like that, where there's these factions that have all grouped together at this castle. And there are 3 major religions that are a part of the castle, that the main hub of it. And they're trying to keep the peace and stuff. And now at this point, before the end of our first session, they're going to try to figure out what's going on. Why are all these people freaking out and stuff? So that's pretty much where we left off. Hopefully that's a good start.
Deliberately vague on some of the details.
Being deliberately vague on some details.
It's like we can't know stuff. But I did think the intro we did, I mean, I guess it was kind of like a session 0/1, as you put it, but the going through from character to character, sometimes 2 characters at once, and starting in the past, I thought was a really cool way to kind of introduce everybody. And on top of that, it sort of gave some connections between characters, almost like live in the session, some like past connections. But yeah, I just thought it was an interesting way to kind of get to introduce, like everyone kind of got the spotlight, either individually or as a small group, as everything came together, and it sort of set the stage for what was going on. And I think you started like a year back from the present time, but yeah, I'll let you speak more to it.
I actually had this planned out with this one because I want the group to come together in a more realistic sense, while the tavern note and everyone kind of clumps up together and goes, "What you got there?" And everyone just kind of groups. I like to have it a little more organic. That's why in campaign 3, it was a order, a guild that called upon people, and you guys were the people that showed up. Yeah, while you're a bunch of random people, you were all called to the same thing for whatever reason you chose. For this one, from the starting point of the campaign, you guys had a connected party member. It ended up being relevant later. I was like, all right, we're going to go back into the past. So like a year plus ago, someone wanted to be a part of the castle. I'm like, okay, so a little bit before that, before you joined the castle, you wanted to meet up with them at a point before the castle. So you guys met up, you did this thing, nothing happens. Them 2 had an interaction. Both of them loved it. Then we met up with 2 other people. One of them was basically fish out of water, that being you, Ginger. And the other person was just a human. And they kind of worked better than I even intended, because I just kind of was bunching people together and making this a little more organic. They met a character from a previous campaign, which was a fun, like, boom, name drop. And especially in the first session, it was good to just do it right away. And then Tukey was also part of the castle, but he's only been there about a month or so. So he got to be there by himself. He got to meet a character that he had placed there. So they had that interaction. And because one of our players was from a year ago in the castle, he's a blacksmith. Tukey has been to him. So he actually has a familiarity with him. Despite them two, I don't think either of you had a connection previously. So that worked out really well. But as the campaign started, Ginger and her other half happened to meet one of the connecting character of all of them. And then Tukey, you met up with that connecting character as well. You just happened to see him in the crowd. You don't know the other people. And then you were going to go pick up, say, like your weapon with the blacksmith or something. And then got to talking. And the blacksmith also recognizes this connecting person. And so that just felt really nice and put together. And like you said, and I totally love this, is that Ginger and the other person now have this bond already that was created. And same thing with the connecting character and our other associate, that also they have a bond and they're also loving it. And it was organic as a session 0 and just happened. It was great.
Yeah, it was a really fun first session, especially coming off the heaviness of the last campaign and just how sort of like dark and a little bit tragic everything kind of got at the end. A lot of us sort of leaned straight into just absolute chaos
Yeah.
this time around. So I know I've mentioned before in the podcast that my last character for campaign 3, Domino, was kind of like the only conscience of the group, and everyone else was crazy. And this time I was like, nuh-uh, it's not on me. I'm going to be the crazy one. Like someone else can steer the ship. And then it turned out that I'm not the only one that did that. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah. Technically the paladin of our other group, who was, a straight edge to his viewpoints, of course, as well, also went the super crazy. Like you and him are kind of the craziest of the group. Then there's the moderate crazy as the rest of you guys.
Yeah, we've been repressed. So
yeah.
we're ready to get out of the box and cause some chaos.
Yeah. And even though this has let's say the same feel as like a Doomsday End of Days kind of thing, I intentionally have this campaign is going to have a different feel to it. The previous campaign was a high level campaign. So you guys were like fighting, the big bads, like
Asmodeus.
Well, you didn't fight Asmodeus, but like you guys fought Zariel. And so that's a pretty big character to be fighting. And you guys were kind of hunting while also being hunted. So you kind of had that. This one is not intended to be that. You're not going to be fighting the demonic version of Asmodeus or something like that. You're going to be trying to figure out how to stop it. Sure. Just like, say the other campaign. It's just going to be a different approach. And I think that'll be a lot more interesting and not feel like the weight is on your shoulders necessarily. At least at the start.
See, so saving the world is optional this time.
Nice.
No, it's still mandatory if you still want to live in the world, but it may not all be your fault this time.
It's also, like you said, this is a lower level. So last campaign we started at level 10 Gestalt, which is 2 full classes. This time it's still Gestalt, but we're starting level 5.
Yeah. I can't say where you'll end. Last campaign, I was expecting around like 16, 17, which is exactly where you ended. This one, I could see you going, let's highball it, say like 12, 13 or something. It could be further, but I don't expect it to be like that. But that's my expectation. I play with a milestone and I try to find good points. I don't want to give it like every time you beat a big bad, because sometimes you guys didn't have that with the last campaign where you kind of probably felt like you should have leveled, but you're at a high level and I didn't want to just do it every time like that. But I think it feels more appropriate to do it at like these big character moments rather than, okay, we killed like 30 million kobolds in the cave over there. That was enough experience, right?
Yeah, I personally have always preferred milestone leveling as well.
It feels good. Like you killed the big bad. You go, yeah, like, oh, you guys leveled. It's like, oh my God, that's the only thing we've killed in like 2 weeks. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just very satisfying. And it can blend in with the story too.
Yeah.
And you guys already kind of said it with this one, but I also enjoyed already the atmosphere of this one. Definitely much more comical.
I like that you guys are more comical.
Yeah, well, okay, here's the funny thing, because I was also going to be a chaotic character.
Your version of chaotic.
My version of chaotic, yeah, but most likely a more tamed down version. But compared already to your character, Ginger, and then the other character we have, who's a wizard?
Yin?
Sorcerer? I don't know what he is, yeah.
Yeah, you don't know.
We don't know yet. Compared to those two, I'm not going to be needed for the chaotic. So I've already sort of in my head, I think, toned down a little bit. But the good news is that my character should be perfectly fine with the chaos. Now, we do have the two other characters, the human and the blacksmith, who are much more of the straight man. So we'll see how that goes and how the team forms. But actually, I feel like that balance or like that back and forth is probably going to be pretty funny. I do see myself probably being somewhere in the middle, but who knows? We only had one session. So,
I mean, you say straight man, but our human wanted to throw in a bunch of jokes, so at least there'll be some fun antics there. And then our blacksmith is a barbarian, so I'm sure he'll have his fun moments. I mean, again, the start, I just loved it so much. Just him being thrown on the bus. He basically, like, after he threw the rock and he was holding the frail old guy on his back running away, and just did like a rant, like, oh my God, I'm going to freaking, like, how you told me to throw the thing. And it was just hilarious. It was so good.
there's going to be a lot of comedy between everybody.
So we've got a ancient elf who potentially has dementia, but potentially is just multidimensional. Who knows? Yep. We've got a half orc, right? Barbarian.
Yep.
Who is the blacksmith. We've got a supposedly human bard, although I'm not convinced.
Totally normal human.
Human.
Yes, I actually am a totally normal human. Druid.
Human.
Boring.
And Tukey, what are you?
Well, you see, I'm just a country boy Harengon, who was, you would think, be abnormal, but is actually the very normal one in this group now.
He's just a little bunny guy.
I am a little bunny guy. I was looking for something that was similar to a cat race, but, you know, because I was out of the cat races, you know, Tabaxi and Leonin. So Harengon seemed like the next.
Yeah, but still some furry.
One. No, but just keeping the tradition. Now, this is my first character that's not tall. I've almost always had really tall characters, so.
He's kind of like a cowboy. He's like a sheriff.
While the castle has a diverse cast there as well, there are notable where one faction has a lot of Dragonborn and another faction has a lot of elves in it. So there is, amongst ranks, we'll say, that have a less diverse, but it's still there. I mean, a lot of the soldiers and stuff are Dragonborn, but your sister, Tukey, is a part of the ranks of the soldiers. So not all of them are Dragonborn. Some of them are Harengon.
Yeah.
I can't wait to find out how many brothers and sisters you have.
Well, okay, first of all,
rabbit, so.
No. Yes, but first of all, this is also now the first time in a while I've given my character a family because, you know, things have happened to my character's families in the past, Mr. DM.
You started it with, I want my fiance dead.
No.
Like, all right.
No. I mean, okay, maybe a little bit.
Wow.
You didn't have to torture her and kill the entire rest of the people of my clan.
No, that had to happen.
But this time's going to be different. Everything's going to be happy. Got a nice family, I'm sure. Oh.
Wait a minute. So that was 2 campaigns ago. And then last campaign, he tortured you and killed almost everyone from your guild.
Well, that was because I didn't give my last character a family, so he had to direct it towards me.
Yeah, but still with the torture, though. So, like, you know, this doesn't make me feel cozy about the vibe for campaign 4.
No, this time's going to be different. I can feel it.
You have a pattern of torturing and killing Tukey and his family a lot.
Ha.
You wouldn't kill a sweet old little Harengon, would you?
So last campaign, I also had a family and I got super tight with them. and like me IRL started stressing about like, oh no, what if something happens?
You were creating your own problems.
Yep.
And Randy took pity on me and didn't, at least that I know of, didn't actually try to follow through on anything bad happening to my brother, because I think I would have freaked out.
Oh, I can talk about that too.
Yeah, I still don't know what happened to my dad. That one's up in the air. But yeah, I'm sure that my brother came very perilously close to dying many, many times, and you just were nice enough to never tell me about it.
No, I'm going to give you credit. You took him out of Timber Reach while you were in dealing with the Titan.
Yes, I did.
Oh, see, he was going to be in danger then.
Yep.
Ha! I knew it.
There you go.
I was very paranoid. About.
It's okay. You were right.
From who? From who?
Spoilers.
Uh-oh.
It's over.
Or is it?
Well, one of my ideas was definitely where Ms. Diney was gonna take him. Like, oh, fine, if you won't follow me, like if you won't like obey my command, I'll steal the game. I'll make sure that he has the power. Something like that. I don't know.
See that was my biggest thing. Was I was like, he's gonna get recruited, because every time I came back to check on him, he had new
or uses leverage.
Yeah, like every time I came back to check on him, he had new magic.
Oh, that wasn't from her, but yeah.
I know, but I was like, you didn't fucking sign that book, did you? Where is it? Like, it's making me so paranoid. I was just like, yeah, every chance I got, anytime there was a conflict, I was like, you're not going to stay here. And I took my whole family and put them somewhere safe. So, yay, I'm glad my panic room strat paid off.
That was all the last campaign. You know, that campaign, my character's a fiend who we're hopefully never going to have to fight or run into again. So we're we're on campaign 4 now, where, you know, I'm obviously doing a cool Southern accent, Southern/country accent. That's honestly going to be a mix of everything, because I can't do a very good accent, but I'm going for it anyway. I also bought props for this one. I even have a little cowboy hat and a bandana to wear during our sessions. But Ginger, you did a kind of a unique way of communication. You didn't talk about that yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this time, my character is a human. For realsies,
Human.
Not like our bard, who I suspect may not be. She is a human. She has actually a huge family, technically. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yes, she was raised around telepaths, and so she's very fish out of water. Like Randy said, she's kind of the fish out of water character, and I don't want to say too much about where she's from or anything like that, but she's mostly used to being spoken to telepathically and through imagery. And it would be like very fast. It would be like you would just get all these images and just know what they mean. And so I took for her in under the new rules that have been revealed for the 2024 rules, humans get an extra origin feat. And then because we were level 5, I picked a regular feat for her. So I gave her telepathic as one of her feats so that it just made sense with her story. And I am right now, because she's very new to being around people who speak out loud, I gave her kind of like processing issues. Like she's intelligent and she can understand what everyone's saying, but to her, it sounds like everyone is talking so slowly. So I've been using the telepathic feat when I meet somebody new to basically bombard them with mental images to try to get what I want to say across, and then just saying out loud like one word. Like, so when I first met the first character, it was just like tons of images of me on the road, like looking for the castle as like a question. And then she just said, hello. The response was really funny. So every character so far has reacted differently to having just like floods of mental images come into their brain from nowhere. Some of the images are concrete pictures because they're things that happened or things she's actually seen. Some of them are abstract ideas, and I'm basically flavoring it that they sort of look like a kid drew it with a crayon, or like you dreamed it in a dream, so it'll look like, you know, like a Dali painting or something, but like people have to sort of interpret what they see and try to figure out what she's trying to say. So it's been really fun so far.
I think they look like moving pictures or something.
Yeah. I also have a little mushroom friend.
You do? You do have a companion?
Yep. That's all I'll say about it for now. I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, we're excited. We're excited. And as I'm sure we will reference them all many times moving forward, her name is Amanita.
Ah, yeah, I forgot to say the name of mine. The name of mine is Vaznin Hopsdema.
And I'm Randy, the random generator.
Oh boy. No, we did that. We did that already.
And you're everybody else.
Yeah, I'm everybody else. I am glad that you chose telepathic because I know you were having a lot of trouble with not trouble, but you were trying to figure out what feat to choose in the first place. And we went through a lot of talks with it, and going for the more flavor option, I feel like has already paid off, and we haven't even started yet officially. So it's good to see that, because I don't want people to just be like, oh, well, polearm / great weapon master, even though that's actually been nerfed now, but still like choosing that option and or sentinel and polearm master or something like that, where because that's the default choice. Well, he's like, no, I want to do the chef thing. That sounds like fun. Like I want to be I don't know, like blacksmith. Then yeah, have more fun with that.
Did telepathic get buffed by 1D&D or no?
No, it's pretty much the same. It just, they've split them into categories. So like origin feats, general feats, and then like epic boons. So it's a general feat now, which it kind of was before anyway, but
almost everything with a stat increase would be a considered general feat, I think.
Yes, it adds the stat increase now instead, but the actual telepathic part of it is written the same as it used to be. But yeah, the reason I struggled with it was because since we are Gestalt, we are always kind of a mad build. Like no matter what you do, you have to sort of balance two stats, unless you're literally playing two things that have the exact same main stat. Like if I was a cleric and a druid, I could just dump everything into wisdom and be done with it. But this time, the build was a little tricky with the weapons because the two different classes use two different stats for their weapons. And I wanted to, we looked at Polearm Master for a really long time because there are things that would have made it work. And then at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough extra total damage to like justify wasting a whole feat on it when I could have such great flavor with the role play with the telepathic. And it fits so well with her backstory. I was really struggling with finding a voice for her. And I even had told Tuki about this like weeks ago. I was like, I don't know what she's going to sound like. I don't want to do an accent this time. I just want her to have like her own inflections and like a way of speaking that's unique. And the telepathic ability clicked it all into place. I was like, okay, now this is how I will show the processing delays and things like that. And it really felt good to get right in there and just start playing around in this space and using the images to like just sort of indiscriminately like bombard everyone around her, because she also just doesn't understand how to be in groups of humanoids. Like she has no social awareness.
It's definitely always fun, I guess, to be able to pick, like with this feat, for example, that you're talking about, pick things that are just not only for flavor, but that really lean into flavor. I think it just makes things more fun in general. You mentioned about a bit of how your character's talking. It's kind of funny. I don't know why, but I basically had the voice for my character from the moment I created him. And now I'm just having fun doing it. But yeah, I don't know. This campaign in general feels definitely different from the previous, but something that's going to be, fun to do.
I also think it's a lot easier to do an inflection versus like trying to figure out not only to try to have an accent of another language, which you did well with the French, and then you did a little bit British, and then you had your own little keywords and stuff. But like trying to remember that and trying to get those nuances is a lot more difficult than just kind of having like a weird talking voice and then you're just overall speaking the way you want to normally speak. So it's easier to not only get into it, but then to stick with it. And you don't have to think about it where you're thinking about the accent more than you're thinking about what to say. That is what I think makes difficult for at least novice people such as ourselves.
Yeah, I actually had a hard time switching out of the accent the whole first session because it was like once I was in it, then when I was talking out of character, I had to keep remembering not to talk in character.
That's what I was going to say. It's more to think about at first in like the early sessions, but the longer it goes, it was very easy for me to just drop into Domino. And it was actually, I was having trouble figuring out what I wanted Amanita to sound like because everything sounded like Domino in my head. Like I couldn't make that voice go away because we'd been in it so long. It didn't click, like I said, until the images became part of it.
I mean, that's also completely understandable because I think, at least what I use, and I know what a lot of voice actors use, and whether anyone else of our group uses it or not, you always have that trigger word or triggered phrase or something that eventually puts you into that accent or whatever. My big voice Rin was always the name of one of our other characters, but I could do it naturally now because I did it enough that I know it's like muscle memory, basically. So
Yeah.
you create the muscle memory eventually, and then it's a lot more natural. But yeah, still in the beginning, like I think it's just nice to not have to think about it. And then you just kind of perfect it from there, which is fun to do too.
Yeah, I definitely think faster in description than I do in dialogue in a session, right? Like,
Yeah.
it was easier for me to be like, okay, she perks up and she looks at you and she gets this big smile on her face. And like, you see images of yourself all over the country doing things. And then she just says like, hi.
Bubbles.
Yeah, bubbles. Yeah. So like, that's really easy to just describe what I'm picturing comes very quickly as opposed to thinking of what to say can take a little longer.
Which is something I added for you guys going forward is if you don't feel like you're equipped enough to say the smart things or say the really charismatic things, that you could just say, my character says something and he's trying to persuade this person, and you don't have to say what you're persuading. So I think you kind of have that sort of with that character. Not saying that you're bad at it or anything, far from it, but like now you're kind of doing that in a sort of different way where you're actually creating images. So you're describing the images and then you just have very simple dialogue. So it kind of works out.
It frees me up to like free think more.
Yeah.
I know the other thing I'm looking forward to is this campaign. You kind of mentioned it in the beginning, how you introduced a character that we knew from the previous one. And so it's in a totally new area, but technically we had heard of this continent before. But we essentially spent a whole year playing our last campaign of real world time where we had this map and we knew where everything was. And it was after spending so much time in that area, we kind of started to know what was around. So it's kind of nice now being in, even though we've heard of this place, we don't know anything about it.
I literally created the map after the previous campaign.
I'm looking forward to, and obviously this is stuff we'll probably share on the podcast as we go, but I'm looking forward to just learning more about it. Basically, I think you shared the map with us, but we don't know what any of it is.
Correct.
So that's the thing I'm looking forward to already in the start of this is like a whole new map, whole new area, and probably new enemies, new everything. So it'll be kind of fun exploring it with these new characters.
Yeah, and like you could look at the map and make guesses like the Mesh Horn or like Gloomstorm or something like that. But like you still don't know. You don't know what it means. Oh, birthed by fire. What? I mean, is there fire to not? Like there could be a tons of things that are there. They're names right now for you, but eventually be like, oh, like you'll know just by, oh, we're looking for these people. Oh, I know where we could look, and then you'll have a location.
Well, Ginger's meta knowledge from last campaign is that this continent is crazy. So I'm terrified.
like I already set them up in the previous campaign. So yeah.
Yeah, but current characters know nothing about it.
I know nothing. Nope. Well, actually, I might know a couple things, but
secrets.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Just as we're learning, the audience is going to learn with us. But I don't know. Did you guys have anything else for campaign 4, or can I go take care of this thing?
Oh, do you have the rash too?
No, there's this spider crawling on the ceiling for the last like 15 minutes. I got to take care of it.
Oh, it's blue. Have you ever wondered if a lion drake is a mammal or a reptile? Does a mimic need to shape change into something that can excrete waste? What exactly does it take to make a gnome deep? Probably not. But our new segment, Dissectional, is here to wonder that anyway.
And what are we dissectioning tonight?
So I think for our first dissection, we should talk about something relatively easy, a face spider, because they're a really big 8 to 10 feet spider that has ethereal jaunt. So it can go through the ethereal realm.
There was one on my ceiling, but I took care of that.
Oh.
Unless it went to the ethereal plane? I don't know.
Oh. Okay, well, if it comes back for one of us, then I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, make sure you delete my browser history.
Sure.
Well, the first thing about this phase spider, it's a large monstrosity. So this thing is pretty big.
Yeah, they don't have a stat for arachnids, which is silly, but they're really big.
So how much bigger are we talking than like a camel spider or like an Australian huntsman spider?
I mean, they're 8 feet compared.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum. Up to 10 feet.
That's a big spider.
I feel like at that size, their hairs would be like insanely sensitive because spider hairs are already crazy. Like they could detect like molecules. Like it's crazy. I feel like the largest scale would probably be that. But also like for me, they almost shouldn't be able to move because their exoskeletons would be insanely heavy. But in the ethereal plane, that fixes that because you're weightless in it and you can move in any direction. So like they just go, oh God, I can't move my body anymore. Whomp into the ethereal plane, and now you're like, oh, well, this is better.
Yeah, I was wondering in the real world how they would even get around at that size, and then even if they did manage to get around, like you're saying with the ethereal plane, I was wondering where they might live. You know, maybe it was like Australia or like a New York subway. I don't know.
Ew.
Do they have to? Okay, so obviously they're an ambush predator because they can pop out and then pop back in and attack their prey. So, like, are they stalking their prey from the ethereal plane? Can they see me right now?
They do have web walker though, which allows them to ignore movement restrictions from webbing. So, I mean, it doesn't mention that they can produce web, but if they have web walking, then maybe they can also produce their own web too. So maybe they don't have to ambush per se.
So a lot of spiders avoid getting stuck in their own webs by weaving the web out of two different types of filament. The orb weaver, for example, only puts the sticky filament on I believe it's the cross sections and not the vertical sections of the web. And then they just walk on the part that isn't sticky to them.
Yeah. Also, they're freaking 8 feet tall at minimum, as we said. So, like, they would basically have to eat, like, I wouldn't say human, but like much bigger creatures than the insects and stuff. And they'd eat meat at that point. But like their diet would be much crazier. So they'd have to hunt bigger prey. And while they could do that, I feel like trying to find bigger prey into like falling into a cave and stuff would probably be much harder than simply letting insects that are very plentiful fall into your trap.
Yeah, I think they'd probably like cows. I mean, at that size, literally, that would be like a mouth snack for them. But like you said, with them being so big and needing to eat so much, they would, if they didn't eat a lot, or if they only ate at like one time, they'd probably just be chilling around for the most part then. Almost maybe more like a reptile or a snake at that point, where they would just eat every once in a while instead of constantly. Because I feel like, again, they would need a lot of food to sustain a lot of movement and energy.
I also had a fun little creepy fact, or not creepy fact, but like a creepy idea with them real quick, is that what if you like walked into the cave and it was like surprisingly clean, but then like maybe you had a way to happen to peer into the ethereal plane and then you just see this like giant mass amount of exoskeleton sheds because they have to shed they have exoskeletons. So just seeing them all laid out in the ethereal plane, because that'd probably be a safer bet for them to do that if they have their hunts in the material plane. The real world would be even, crazier regardless, because kind of our material plane is kind of the real world of D&D. So, or even they had their webs there or something, or you had the webbing in the material plane and you have no idea, and then just the spider just manifests onto the web. You're like, oh God, that's way bigger than I thought. That makes sense of the webs now.
I wonder if the molt would be big enough that you could make a yurt out of it.
Probably.
You could probably make a whole dress.
Right.
Well,
yes.
well,
That is smaller than a yurt.
Yes, you could make a bunch of dresses and one yurt.
Yeah.
That would be cool if you were like adventuring across and you ducked into a cave and you were out somewhere in like the ice and you found like a molt of a creature and you crawled inside because you thought it was like a yurt. And then when the sun came up and the storm stopped the next morning and you looked around, you realized it was a molt from a giant spider and you spent the night in it.
Hey, if it kept you safe. I would definitely not do this, but one other thing I was wondering with the phase spider is if you wanted to keep one as a pet, how would you do it? And my thought here is that you'd somehow have to get reduce cast on it permanently and then put it in a tank and then have a second tank that you put in the exact spot in the ethereal plane as well. It would be a lot of effort.
You thought of everything. Or just make it unable to use Ethereal Jaunt somehow. But I also had the idea where if they could, since spiders are really good at sensing vibrations, especially on the web, if they had like an ethereal web as well, perhaps it mimics the real world. I mean, like some things, like usually you can't interact with the other realm and stuff, so there is kind of that blurring the line, but still it'd be kind of cool to have this like almost second nature to it. It's not the stat block, it wouldn't be a thing, but you know, I'm trying to bring a little bit of a extra flavor into the phase spider.
Just cast Forbiddance on it.
But I don't want to forbid it.
I don't want a giant spider. I want to make it smaller
Why wouldn't
first.
you want to? But then you could just go get a regular spider.
True.
I don't want a regular spider either. I want one that can phase.
Yeah, but wouldn't you want a giant spider that could phase that you could like ride into battle?
Okay, maybe.
It would probably be itchy. As a spider, and especially as a giant spider, I feel like it should be a solitary species. Yet every time I've had to fight one as a player in a one shot or like a previous campaign I've been a part of, there's always been like 5 or 6 of them. Like they live in a colony.
How unrealistic.
It is the DM's world, so really like they can kind of do whatever they want. As far as stat blocks, we only have the phase spider, so they just shrunk it up. They honestly probably just copied regular spiders or giant spiders or wolf spiders, blah, 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 and then just gave them ethereal jaunt. Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, I guess it's of course incredibly creepy to be coming into a cavern or something and hear like the skittering of like many spider legs.
I mean, like, how do you even like have a colony where they're all phasing in and out? Like, hey, you get back! Don't you go into the ethereal realm?
Just a constant popping back and forth in different dimensions.
Right? Yeah, exactly. You get back here.
Then like one pops in and just rips the head off another one and then disappears, and you're like, uh-oh, we stumbled into the mating season.
Ew.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had enough of talking of spiders.
Flash round time. This is where we take turns picking one aspect of a character that anyone can use. If you play one, let us know who or what they conquer. All right, you two, roll initiative.
And I rolled a 1. Fantastic.
16.
17.
Ooh, so we got Randy, Ginger, Tukey.
Oh, I'm not ready for this.
You better be.
Okay. Okay, so okay, I'm ready. So for race, we're gonna go with a Goliath.
Strong, huh?
We're going strong.
Okay. So for class, it's just so hard to make a Goliath anything but a barbarian. But I'm not gonna.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not
come
gonna.
on.
I gotta do something different. Let's go. Oh, I got a good one. Let's do Ranger.
Ranger, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, they're gonna be a Swarm Keeper.
Okay. Thought you might go Monster Slayer, but
I was about to,
Keeper is
but you know we're not.
also
We're not
good.
doing stereotypes.
Yep. You're right.
They're gonna have a very dark, deep blue skin color with markings on them that are, I would say, a sort of light lavender on them.
For the background, they are a ranger and a swarm keeper. I think it would be fun to run across one of those if they were a mercenary.
Wait, wouldn't that be bad if you run across one of those?
Not if you're looking to hire.
Okay. Well, I think that makes perfect personality trait for them. And that is that they really don't like bugs.
How gross.
Makes it real tricky to keep track of those swarms.
For their ideals, they aspire to one day own their own land free of these bugs.
Beat them with bugs? Beat bugs with bugs? Yeah.
Just need bigger bugs.
Veering into Starship Troopers territory, are we?
Well, it depends. Like if arachnids aren't really bugs, so if they just get really big arachnids that eat the bugs, then problem solved.
Oh, you found a loophole.
In that case, the bond obviously is going to be with the swarm. My creatures are my only true companions.
It's deep. Says a lot about someone if they can only feel loved by a spider.
Maybe.
You don't know their life?
Well, I do, actually, because I'm giving them their flaw. And their flaw is they don't want to be loved.
What?
Yeah.
Not even by their swarm?
Not even by the swarm.
Wow.
Do they think they're not worthy?
No, it's not deep. They just don't want to be loved.
It's not deep.
His item is a can that he holds with him all the time. It's bug spray.
I'm going to need that.
Yeah.
All right. And the name is going to be Comrade.
What's his other two names?
Komarod. His other two names? We could name.
Wait, what? Why do they have multiple names?
It's because one of them has to be an event, right?
Yeah, it's first name, a clan name, and then their most impressive deed is their third name. Thus far.
Comrade Stormbringer Bug Zap.
Love it.
Boom.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this session and want to hear more, you can find us on Twitter at DysfictionalPod for our latest updates and downloads.
Original music for this podcast is provided by Joshua Silver, the artist known as Demonon, on Spotify.
Sometimes it's best to befriend the Lich.